From the year 1990 from the Courier-Journal out of Louisville, Kentucky. The headline says, "To Scientist Salvino, bowling still is much more than a game." Seems like I've heard that somewhere before. This is an article by Scott Petoniak. The year was 1945, and Carmen Salvino, a preteen living on the west side of Chicago, was looking for a way to help his parents make ends meet. He got a job delivering newspapers after school, but that career ended the minute a friend told him he could earn a lot more money setting pins at a neighborhood bowling alley. Those, of course, were the days before automatic pin setting machines. Salvino jumped at the offer. "They paid us $3 a night, and if you worked really fast, you could make even more," he recalled. That was darn good money in those days. After a year of picking up after others, Salvino and his colleagues asked the proprietor if they could try their hand at the sport one night after the customers had left. He agreed on the condition the boys didn't scuff the lanes. "We bowled in our stocking feet," Salvino said. "I can still see it now. I take my approach, and just as I release the ball, my legs go out from under me, and I fall flat on the seat of my pants. But it didn't bother me. I was too excited, watching my ball roll down the lane and knock down all the pins." Call it love at first strike. Almost 5 decades later, Salvino's affair with bowling keeps rolling along. Although he is just a month shy of his 57th birthday and has little else to prove, he continues to compete, though not as regularly as he once did. No pro bowler can match his longevity. Few can match his success. He has won 19 Professional Bowlers Association tournaments and has been inducted into 5 Halls of Fame. "The bottom line is it's still fun and I still get a kick out of it," he said. "The day my wife tells me you have to go out and practice is the day I don't do it anymore." Salvino probably would tackle a heavier schedule if it wasn't for his other love, designing bowling balls. He has 3 on the market, with 2 more on the way. "I spend as much time in the lab working on different balls as I do in the alleys," he said. "And I'm just as aggressive in the lab as I am at the alley. I love working on the formulas, looking for ways to devise better bowling balls. I love growing as a human being. I love knowledge. I love to go to my lab and do things with chemicals that others have never done." Salvino became interested in the science of bowling in 1969. He was struggling through a difficult season and worrying that, at age 35, he was losing his skill. Hank Lauer, a bowling friend of his who happened to be an engineer, came to his rescue. He told Salvino that he had to start taking a thinking man's approach to his game. "Before Hank became my teacher, I was just like any other jock," he said. "I just do things instinctively. But when you reach your mid-30s as an athlete, you undergo changes, physically and psychologically. I needed to take a new approach." Hank said, "I don't want you to pick up a ball again until you understand why you've been doing poorly and what it will take for you to make things right again. We're going to talk about translational and rotational motion and vector analysis. You are going to understand the principles of friction. We're going to attack bowling the way a couple of scientists would. You're going to be a scientist." Laura told him to go home and begin reading his daughter's physics book. Salvino followed his mentor's instructions and took to his subject immediately. Before long, he began applying the principles to his bowling. "Hank died a while ago, but he gave me the greatest gift a person can give another person," Salvino said. "He opened my mind and revived his game." After working several years with Lauer, Salvino won 6 PBA tournaments in the mid-1970s. He continues to be a threat to win in the 90s. To the uninitiated, bowling seems like a game almost devoid of strategy. Pick up the ball, heave it down the lane, watch the pins fly. But the amount of oil used on lanes varies from tournament to tournament, sometimes game to game. Like a skilled putter in golf, the bowler must be able to read surfaces. "I get upset when I hear people scoff about this being an easy game," Salvino said. It's a very complicated game with plenty of strategy, especially at this level. His blood pressure also rises when someone suggests that bowlers aren't athletes. If somebody tells you that we aren't athletes, you tell him he's all wet, Salvino said. I swing that 16-pound ball maybe 200 times in my average practice session. Let some baseball or football player try that. Every muscle on his bowling arm side would be aching, and he'd be walking lopsided for a week. You should respect each sport. Each requires different skills, but that doesn't make one better than another. I think I still have it. I think if I took a month off to devote 48 hours a day to nothing but bowling, I could still win. The problem I have is that I'm wearing two hats, and that's difficult. But I'm not ready to give up bowling yet and devote my life solely to inventing. I still like to compete. I'd still like to win. If he does in the 90s, he'll become the first professional to win titles in 5 decades.